Welcome to the explainer. Okay, so if you hear the phrase Section 144 today, actually scratch that. Forget what you used to know. It no longer means banning public gatherings. It's been completely transformed. Today, we're decoding India's new Section 144.
So what actually is Section 144 BNSS? Basically, it's a secular criminal procedure remedy. Its whole job is to ensure that anyone with the means to do so supports their dependents, specifically to prevent destitution. And that word, secular, is absolutely crucial here. Unlike specific personal laws, this is a universal safety net. It protects every single person in India, regardless of their religion.
Now you might be wondering, who can actually claim this maintenance? Well, it boils down to 4 groups. First, the wife, and that includes a divorced woman who hasn't remarried. Second, minor children. Third, adult children with physical or mental abnormalities. And by the way, removing the word minor there is a major BNSS update. It's a huge step for protecting vulnerable adults. Finally, parents who are unable to maintain themselves.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that number. See, under the old system, dependents often waited literally years for help. Well, not anymore. The BNSS introduces a strict 60-day statutory timeline for magistrates to dispose of interim-maintenance applications once notice is served. That is a massive shift to get emergency relief out fast.
And it's not just speed. Enforcement has been seriously upgraded too. Courts can now order direct maintenance deductions straight from a defaulter's salary. If they try to flee to another state, doesn't matter. The order actually follows them across state lines. And if they still refuse, courts can issue warrants to recover the cash and can even impose imprisonment.
You know, the landmark case of Jasbir Kaur Sehgal really captures the original intent here. The court stated, maintenance should ensure that the wife can live with dignity and not be reduced to destitution or beggary. At its core, Section 144 is really about fundamental human dignity, just ensuring no one is financially abandoned. But as we look at the source material, we also have to acknowledge a sort of dual nature to this law. On one hand, we have this absolutely vital protection for the vulnerable. But on the other, there are instances of exploitation. Research and court observations have highlighted that these protections are sometimes manipulated into tools for extortion, retaliation, and unfair financial enrichment. And the societal repercussions of this misuse are severe. Sources point to data from the National Crime Records Bureau showing a rise in male suicides linked to fabricated marital disputes. We're seeing situations where false cases are filed for dowry harassment under Section 85 BNSS, fabricated domestic violence, and extortionate maintenance demands are just being used as leverage. And this brilliantly illustrates that tragic dynamic, the Bengaluru techie case. So, Atul Sharma, a software engineer, entered into an arranged marriage via a matrimonial app. But according to reports, it quickly devolved into police proceedings with false domestic violence and dowry claims, ultimately culminating in his suicide. It's a really sobering look at how digital marriages can sometimes become a legal nightmare. To put the scale of some of these extreme claims into perspective, just look at a recent Supreme Court case. Get this. After just 18 months of marriage, a wife demanded a luxury flat, a BMW, and 16 crore rupees in monthly alimony. That kind of demand places immense, almost unbelievable pressure on both the opposing party and the judicial system itself. But the Supreme Court's response to that 16 crore demand was incredibly firm. They basically said, "You're educated, on yourself." We are seeing courts increasingly scrutinize whether highly educated, professionally qualified spouses should really be getting massive maintenance after very short marriages. The message is pretty clear. Maintenance is a safety net for the needy, not a mechanism for lifestyle inflation. So all of this leads to a very delicate judicial balancing act. Magistrates face this daily challenge of rapidly sifting through highly emotional claims. They have to protect the genuinely vulnerable from destitution, while at the very same time identifying and penalizing those who are just fabricating demands. Let's move to and see how this builds into the Rajneesh versus Neha guidelines. These were laid down by the Supreme Court to help magistrates strike that balance and prevent fraud. The real game changer here is the mandatory affidavit of disclosure. Both parties literally must submit a sworn affidavit detailing absolutely every asset, liability, and income source. Plus, there's an overlap set-off rule, which stops you from double-dipping if you're claiming maintenance under multiple different laws.
Now, it's also worth noting that Section 144 has some built-in disqualifiers. A spouse instantly forfeits their maintenance if they're living in adultery, refusing to live with their husband without a justified reason, or living separately by mutual consent. If any of those are proven, the magistrate absolutely has to cancel the order.
So what does this all mean? We've seen how Section 144 acts as a vital shield for families, for sure. But we've also seen how it can be wielded as a sword in marital disputes. I want to leave you with this. As our society evolves, how can we ensure the law protects the truly vulnerable without becoming a weapon for the vindictive? Is a fully gender-neutral approach the next necessary reform? Definitely something to think about. Thank you so much for joining this explainer.